it hard to leave you alone. It's a fairly straightforward song from Beck from 2002, and I've just found out this morning that actually Willie Nelson covered this recently, and it's a lovely version. I've just had a listen to it, so maybe check that out. It has a very small handful of chords and some fairly simple sections, and mostly there's a lot of repetition. The picking is just a little bit devious because it's slightly complicated, but the real challenge here is this first chord. Now, I reckon this is the way it's being played on the original because of the way the picking is. We need all of those notes there. You could probably do that somehow. I find that even more difficult. If putting your thumb over the first fret of the bottom string isn't your thing, there are a few other options for this chord, so we'll look at those straight away because it's worth getting something that feels comfortable for you. What's happening here is we've got the first finger on the first fret of the second string, second finger on the second fret of the third string, and the third finger on the third fret of the fourth string. The top string is open, that's already an F major 7, and look, if you just want to play those top 4 strings just to give yourself the sense of F major 7, that's going to work fine. But what happens on the original is the thumb comes over, I guess it's the thumb, or something comes over onto the first fret of the bottom string. So we get that. We're not playing the 5th string, and you know, if you're strumming, then maybe I'm just touching with the tip of my 3rd finger that 5th string to take it out of circulation. So that would work. If you're strumming, it doesn't really matter if you're playing this shape or a different one. Another option you could try is this. If you start with a C shape, move that second finger up to the 2nd fret of the 3rd string, and then put the little finger down on the 3rd fret of the 4th string, just behind that 3rd finger that's on the 3rd fret of the 5th string. That'll work. Again, you haven't got that F in the bass, but it's not bad. It's a fuller F major 7. Is that the first chord for Band on the Run? I don't know. It feels like it. Anyway, so a few options then. That F major 7, just the top 4 strings, or let's add a note on the 3rd fret of the 5th string. You could even do all of it. Probably don't need to. That much is what Beck does. There's another way of playing F major 7 that to me is a bit more familiar, and that's this. It looks like an A minor, but played with the 2nd, 3rd and 4th fingers, leaving that 1st finger free to loop round to the bottom string. That's how I would normally play an F major 7 if it came up, but that's without this specific picking which demands particular notes be in place. The only difference between this shape when we pick it and this one is that in this shape, now we get the root, and in this one we get the major 7 on that 4th string, but otherwise they're very similar. Okay, so that's what we've got. It probably pays just to have a little look at how you're positioning your guitar to give you the best chance of getting this cleanly. You don't want that finger to ride up there, you want to keep that on the 1st fret. Before we go on, I'm just going to look at this picking pattern that we've got. It's pretty much constant throughout. There are just a couple of places where it varies, either because we've got more than one chord in the bar, as you'll see in a moment, or because for a kind of dynamic effect or something structural. But essentially, we've got this. And I'm sure Beck is well versed as a folk musician originally with Travis picking. And what you want to do is get this going. This is the thumb moving between the 6th string and the 4th string. That's very typical of Travis picking. And now what happens is that these bass notes alternate with strings played with the fingers, and I'm putting my 3 picking fingers on the top 3 strings. The 1st finger's on the 3rd string, the 2nd finger on the 2nd string, and then the 3rd finger, of course, up on the top string. And we get this. At the beginning, so thumb plays the normal bass note, which for F is the 6th string. Then we pick the 3rd string with the 1st finger. Now we come up to the 4th string with the thumb. And that first half is finished off with the 2nd string played with the 2nd finger. So thumb on the 6th string, 1st finger picks the 3rd string, thumb picks the 4th string, 2nd finger picks the 2nd string. I'm all fingers, thumbs, numbers, and it's tricky, but that's it. best to follow the tab. Okay, so that's the first half, and you just want to get that together. It's a slightly subverted Travis picking pattern, more like you might see with Dylan. And check out my video on Don't Think Twice. That's what he plays on the original. I'm not sure if I play it like that because I find it's a bit counterintuitive, but this is the way it's played. The second half of the pattern is exactly the same, except rather than that note on the third string played with the first finger, now the third finger picks the top's open string. So we just get this gentle syncopation. That's quite nice. Okay, that's how that's played. And as I say, pretty much all along, whenever we've got a different chord, we get that pattern. The only thing is, of course, that we need to work out where the thumb is going to start, because the first thumb note is the root of the chord. Now for F, obviously that's the 6th string. There's an A minor in a minute, and there, and we'll get to this in a moment in more detail, but there the thumb is going to begin on the 5th string. Otherwise the pattern's going to be exactly the same. For C, likewise, the thumb is going to begin on the 6th string. When we 5th string, when we play an E7, it's on the 6th. When we play a G, as we get in a moment, there's a G6. Again, because the bass note is on the 6th string, the thumb is going to begin there. So that's worth kind of having a little look in advance, seeing where the thumb should begin. But otherwise, those patterns are going to be exactly the same. The first of our exceptions to this is actually in the second bar. What happens is this. We get F major 7. I'll just strum that for now without finger picking pattern to complicate things. Then we get 2 beats of C, and we move on to this. I'm calling this C over B. It's loosely C with a B in the bass. There's a bit of D going on there as well, but C over B. And if I pick the whole thing, you'll hear. Okay. So in fact, the first half of the bar with C in it is exactly the same as the original. As I say, the thumb is going to move up to the 5th string. Thumb plays its normal bass note. First finger picks the 3rd string. Thumb moves up to the 4th string. And then we finish off that first half with the 2nd finger picking the 2nd string. That's as you'd expect. But then we kind of tread water a little bit on the C over B chord. So that's our first, I mean, I might be making too much of this, never mind. But that's our first exception to what otherwise is a fairly fast rule. The intro has 4 of these little 2-bar sequences, making 8 bars in all. And in fact, we begin the verse, we keep playing this another 3 times. So just from the verse. Your sorry eyes, they cut through the bone, make it hard. Now we get on to A. And in A, as I say, the A minor, we play exactly the same pattern, but the thumb begins on the 5th string. And we come up otherwise exactly the same way. Make it hard to leave you alone. And again, E7, exactly the same. Again, the thumb reverts to starting on the 6th string because it's an E chord. And just a little detail I think I can hear in the original, we've actually got this note on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string added to a standard E7. Now, that's a very useful way just to create a little bit of variety on an E7. It doesn't add to the chord, it just changes the voicing a little bit, adding the little finger on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string. I'm pretty sure that's what he does there. So in the A minor, alright, if I can then, the whole of the first verse, because that's it, it's 8 bars, and it just repeats, and that's the first verse. Your sorry eyes, they cut through the bone, make it hard to leave you alone. Second verse, they leave you here, and so on. And there's nothing new in the second verse, and then we're into the chorus. So that 8-bar verse, that repeats, making 2 verses, and then we get into the chorus, which is another very simple 8-bar section. Mainly stuff we've already looked at. We've got our F major 7, but then we've got this G6. Now I don't know how you play your G, whether you use the 2nd, 3rd and 4th fingers as I do, or whether you prefer to use your 1st, 2nd and 3rd. I like this way, but whatever finger you would normally have on the top string, move that down to the 2nd string, 3rd fret of the 2nd string, leaving that top string open, so you've got G6. And we get F major 7, G6, 3 times, and we finish on 2 bars of C. So it's like this. Baby, you're a lost, baby, you're a lost, baby, you're a lost cause. Okay, now a tiny detail, and I did manage to play it there. In that 2 bars of C at the end, the first of those is our familiar pattern, but then we get this. Okay, he moves up to the top string on 2 and 1 and 2 and then we get that. I mean, that's what I hear. As I say, it's almost not worth mentioning, but that's what happens. Then we go back and do another couple of verses, exactly the same as before, and now we get into the second chorus, which is the same except the last bar, instead of 2 bars of C, we get A7, so we would have baby, you're a lost, baby, you're a lost, baby, you're a lost cause. Okay, however he picks that, I'm not so sure. That's an A7, and that takes us into a little tag. I'm just calling that an 8-bar tag at the end of the second chorus, and it's like this. Tired of fighting, tired of fighting, fighting for a lost cause. So it's exactly the same as the first chorus, just kind of bunged on the end. Okay, so that's that intro, verse 1, verse 2, chorus, verse 3, verse 4, chorus with an A7 at the end leading into that little 8-bar tag. And now we come to, I'm calling this a bridge, it's a contrasting section. And again, very similar, but this time there's an A. A for a bar, F major 7 for a bar, and C for 2 bars. That happens 3 times through. So let's see if I can play that. There's a place where you are going. You ain't never been before. No one laughing at your back now. Now we get another couple of lines, 2 bars of F major 7, 2 bars of C, and that happens again. No one standing at your door. Whoops, that's what you thought love was for. Okay, so that's our little bridge section, 5 lines altogether, 20 bars. That's it. In the intro, where we have F major 7 and then C, and the second half of the C bar is a C over B, we kind of get that in the bridge, but not always. And it's like this. In the very first line of that, we get A. There's a place where you are going, just 2 straight bars of C. Now in the second one, you ain't never been before, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. We get that just on the 4th beat. It's a little bit odd, but if you listen to the original, you can hear it. And then in the third version, no one laughing at your back now, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that one really is just like the intro or the verse version. And then when we get to the 2 bars of F major 7, 2 bars of C, we don't hear it again. So if you buy my sheet music, you'll see that I've got that C over B on the very last beat in the 8th bar, and then in the 12th bar it's on the 3rd beat. That isn't an error. Okay, so in terms of the layout of the song, intro, verse 1, verse 2, chorus, verse 3, verse 4, chorus with an A7 taking us to that 8-bar tag. We get into the bridge, and then we just go back and play another chorus, So the chorus that we play now is the second version, so we've got the A7, and that leads us into that tag again, the I'm tired of fighting, I'm tired of fighting, fighting for a lost cause. So now we get 4 bars of C, of which the final one is just a kind of a strum, and there might even be a little bit of a hammer on the 4th string there. I don't really know, but that's kind of it. All right, close enough. Thanks very much for watching. Let's have a little playthrough. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry eyes, they cut through the bone, they make it hard to leave you alone, leave you here, wearing your wounds, waving your guns at somebody new. Baby, you're alive. Baby, you're alive. Baby, you're a lost cause. There's too many people you used to know. They see you coming, they see you go. Know your secrets, you know theirs. This town is crazy, nobody cares. Baby, you're alive. Baby, you're alive. Baby, you're a lost cause. Tired of fighting, fighting for a lost cause. There's a place where you are going.